and tell all the people. I posted on Facebook as well.
Excellent. We are now live. Hooray.
Woo! What's up?
All right, so now I'm going to just... It's hard. My poor little MacBook Air is getting strained by all the windows that I have up when I do these live shows.
Dude, I restarted my computer and I have it so that all the tabs that were once open before I shut down stay open. And already when it comes back, it's just like 40 tabs. Like I have a problem.
That's a problem that is a problem that I share. I had to I should have given this to you as a tip. On in Google Chrome, you can go to an entire window, and then under the bookmark section, you can make bookmarks of every tab that's in that window and like put it in a special folder. So that's what I did. I had like 3 or 4 windows open with like 40 tabs each. I made bookmarks for all those tabs, and then I closed the window. Yes. So I'm going to be opening that right up as soon as this live show is done.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we are on the same wavelength with regards to that. So I'm just going to start our show. I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'm going to pause for you to introduce yourself, and you can also talk about your channel, okay?
Perfect.
Great. So we are about to start my PaulCast Paul Talks live show. I am Paul Roth, and today Paul talks with
Ricky Anderson II, also known as Stewdippin around the interwebs. I like making fun, engaging, entertaining, nerdy videos on the internet and really everywhere else. Yeah, I guess that's it. That's me.
That's good. And now I'm going to play my theme song as if I'm like a legit show. Ooh. And that's enough of that.
Again, that's awesome.
I mean, I only had to do like 9 or 10 of these shows and before I figured out what the hell I wanted to do. I've started to figure it out.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm really glad that Ricky is joining me today. Do people call you Ricky or do people call you Stewdippin? First of all.
So people who know me outside of the internet call me Ricky. But then people who do watch my videos sometimes will call me Stew or Stewdippin. There's another video creator named Mo Chocolate, and he'll say, "Oh, hey, what's up, Stew?" And like he will refer to me as Stew anytime we hang out. And actually, some people thought my name was Stew for a while. That's why I started opening my videos with, "Hello, everyone. My name is Ricky," just so they didn't feel completely deceived when I told them my name was Ricky. So, yeah,
that is cool. I just went to Playlist Live DC. I guess it was last month now, and one of the panels in the business track, they talked about how when you open up your videos, even if you've been doing it for a while, it's a good idea to at least occasionally say what your name is because you do keep on getting new viewers and they might not know.
Yeah. And can I say this is something that I'm a little embarrassed about, but I thought it was more funny than embarrassing. Since I've been following you on Twitter and since we've been interacting on Twitter, I forever thought your username was Paul Dini. And in my mind, like I was telling everyone, like, yeah, I'm gonna go hang out. I'm gonna do a live show with Paul Dini. And I was like, wait, that doesn't say Paul Dini. All right,
that is an interesting one. I don't think I've heard that one before. I get it though, like Houdini, Paul Dini. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's just like I just saw the letters together. I'm just like, yeah, there's a D in there. There's an I in. It's Dini.
No, it's actually nerdier than that, I think, because way back in like the end of high school, beginning of college, when I first started having an online username, I decided to take my favorite D&D role-playing class, Paladin, and combine it with my name, Paul, and I came up with Paladin. I ended up spelling it wrong, but I just used this IDIN spelling forever. So Paladin is like a paladin in D&D games.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that explanation even better. Now I will never get it wrong. I have a mnemonic device.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Where did Stewdippin come from?
Oh man, it's really random. So back in the early 2000s, there's a show on BET called Hits from the Street, and they would play these hip hop shows or hip hop music videos. And then there was this guy who did a man on the street type interviews with people, and he went by Hits. Anyway, there's a segment at the end of each episode where he would have the word of the day. And one time the word of the day was Stewdippin. And it meant getting to know each other. Like, Stewdippin is a verb, technically. It's like getting to know each other. Like, when you're hanging out with people, you're Stewdippin. Like, you're marinating. You're hanging out with each other kind of thing. And this is the kind of nerd I would write down interesting words that I thought were interesting. And so I carried it around in my wallet. Like, I had a little sheet of notebook paper that I wrote this down on, folded it up. I'm like, that's a good word. Wrote it down, folded it up, and carried it around in my pocket so I could know the word. And that's where it comes from. That's what it means. And then Ricky anything was always taken as a username. So I'm like, well, no one uses Stewdippin. And then I used it.
That's awesome. That's great. That's great. We are joined in the chat by Turlin, whose name is Christy. Hi, Christy.
Hi.
And she says, I totally knew your Twitter handle was a D&D reference. Excellent. We are all nerds here.
Yes.
All nerds here.
All nerds. Yeah, I only ever played D&D once in person. And it was amazing. Like, I was like, like, this is like really interesting. And I almost didn't even want to play anymore just because I wanted to watch. I just wanted to observe. Like, playing it is really fun, but like watching it unfold is like almost a little more interesting to me. It's like speculative. I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, I think if you have a really good dungeon master as well, that makes a big difference. If they're like very creative and imaginative in how they describe stuff. Yeah, but I actually like, this is how big. I don't want this to be a downer, but this is how sad my childhood was. I didn't have friends to play D&D with. I knew about the game, but I didn't have friends to do that with. It also didn't help that I moved around a lot being an army brat. So my real first exposure to D&D was I would get the like Apple II like pixelated computer games of D&D, and I would play those like going through the dungeons and stuff. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was my D&D exposure.
Yeah, well, I didn't have a lot of friends. Like, depends on what part of my childhood. Like, early, like pretty much pre-middle school, even through middle school. Oh goodness! So this is how I get when I get with details and I'm like recalling events. I get obsessive about like what is actually the right term for it. But anyway, for a large part of my childhood, I didn't have like friends that were like, "Hey, let's go hang out with Billy down the street." Like, that didn't happen with me a lot. It was mostly my family. And so when I did get into things, it was either like my sister who would be there with me. Like, we were both very into Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Ooh.
Like, man, like we were all about that show. And so once we got into that, we started becoming collectors together. But if she wasn't into a thing, it was just going to be me just basically playing a 2-player game of solitaire by myself.
I mean, I understand. I feel you. I've been there. Since we have Christy in the chat, that has reminded me that I'm doing something a little bit different on this live stream. I discovered that I can connect this live show, the broadcasting side of things, mm-hmm. to a post on Google+. It's a little weird. So if you look at the description on this video show, you'll see that there is a thing that says you can chat here on this page, or you can comment on this other page. And if you want to, like, if anybody who's watching wants to contribute something that is like a comment or like a link to something or like a long description of something, and you don't want that to get lost after the show is over, go to the comment page, put in the comment there. A, I will see it immediately, and I can like share it on screen for everybody else. And B, it won't be lost after the show is over. New thing I'm trying. Generally speaking, you can just stay here on this page and chat with us in the chats. But if you want something that's going to be kind of permanent and last for a while, you can go try out the comment page.
Awesome. That's really cool.
I just discovered that a few weeks ago, and then I tried it out in like a little secret show with Asante and Magic Cat Jenny and Dave J of NFI. They all helped me out, like try it out, and it's kind of neat. It's not as good as the live chat, but it's kind of neat because, again, it doesn't go away after the show is over. So we have like a list of things that are saved, which is nice.
That is nice.
Yeah. Let's see here. I also made for the first time ever, I actually prepped for the show, and I made a list of things that I wanted to like bullet point ask you about. And, you know, the most recent thing that's happened in the YouTube community is YouTube Red. Do you have thoughts on YouTube Red, Ricky?
I do. So here's the thing. With me and YouTube, I'm a fairly old YouTuber in the sense of like age, and also just like I've seen YouTube evolve a lot throughout the years. And I was there on YouTube before YouTube was the place not to go, or YouTube was originally the place to go for like any online video. Like it was basically torrents before torrents, more or less, because it was less regulated and Google didn't own them. So I've seen YouTube evolve over the last couple of years, and as far as YouTube Red comes, it makes sense to me that they would be doing it because I have a Hulu Plus subscription, and they recently did something similar. They said, great, you can have your regular Hulu Plus subscription, or if you want to get rid of the ads for $8 more, or how much is it? I think it's like $4 or $3 more, you can watch it without ads. And I was like, well, I don't hate ads enough to pay for them, so I'm fine. But I think my only frustrating thing about it is that YouTube thinks, because they were saying, yeah, the fans want this. I'm like, no, but you're missing the point. Like, I feel like YouTube makes decisions like a very uninformed parent. Like, it's like a kid's like, hey dad, I really want to play Pokemon. It's like, oh wow, he wants to play Pokemon. It's like a cartoon show. Well, I got you this Beanie Baby. It's like, no dad, it's not the same. It's like, but you said you wanted a Pokemon. That's not a Pokemon. It's like, but it looks the same. It's like a little thing. Like, that's why I feel like YouTube makes most of their decisions about, like, oh, well, people don't want ads, well, we'll have them pay for it. It's like, no, you're missing the point. And then like, no, but you'll support the creators. And like, yeah, but it's just you don't understand us, YouTube.
That is a really good analogy.
As a model, I do like that it is something that they have as an option. But like, I don't know of anybody online who I watch enough and who I would want their content enough to pay for a monthly subscription for it, if that makes sense. Like, if they were to say, hey, we want to put this new web series out and you can buy it on DVD, like, I'd buy it. Like, I did that with the Lizzie Bennett Diaries because it's great. But I liked watching it online, and I liked the additional value that we got afterwards. But C.S. Andreas pointed out, he's just like, it's basic features that should be allowed that you're putting behind the paywall. Like,
and Kevin, cheers, Kevin, also pointed out, I think it was him, who also pointed out, you know, this sets a dangerous precedent for progressive development on YouTube being freemium stuff behind a paywall rather than available to everybody as YouTube develops new technologies. That's not a place we want to go. We don't just want YouTube to stay free. We also want YouTube to keep on improving while staying free.
Absolutely. Like, what was the thing? There's this one feature that they released. I forget what it was, but one of the features Chris was talking about was something to the effect of being able to multitask and watch YouTube videos in the background.
Yeah.
Like it was like when it first came out, when it was like a built-in app on the iPhone. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
Okay, so I wasn't misremembering that. That used to be something that you could do. It would just keep on playing when you did something else.
Yeah.
That's like, what I thought.
I missed that. But then they're like, oh, well, now you can do this. I'm like, no, you don't do that. First off, bring back video responses and then allow you to do multitasking and allow the community to engage and listen to content the way that they want to.
Yeah. I mean, I think, first of all, I want to pause and say hello to Spoo and Mandy S. and also in the chats. Hi, we see you. And if anybody asks us questions in the chats, I will note that and we will answer those questions. But so far, Spoo just says he is internal. Yes, sure, of course. And Mandy loves the analogy that you made, Ricky. So which I agree with that. Yeah, the play in the background. I'm hoping that because YouTube Red is brand new, like it hasn't even rolled out yet. It's rolling out in 4 days is when they're firing it off. I'm hoping that they're going to very quickly discover, okay, these are the things where people do not fight us about making it behind the pay. And these are the things that we really should make available to everybody. And hopefully the play in the background thing, which people have been asking for since there have been apps on smartphones, essentially, they will allow available to everybody. That's what I'm hoping. We'll see.
Yeah, me too.
But you know, with regards to actually paying the content creators, you know, Hank Green mentions over and over again, very validly, that if you want to pay your content creators, rather than spending $10 a month, and then only 55% of that maybe gets available for the content creators, and then it gets split up among the content creators that you watch, rather than that, which ends up being like $5.50 a month at most to some creators, you can just Patreon them and like decide, I want to pay this one person $1 a month, like a solid, nothing pulled from it, $1 a month, and then this other person, and then you could do 5 people, and that's, you know, probably more money than they would get even if you were only watching 5 people on YouTube Red.
Yes, and that's the other thing is that YouTube Red does the same thing that, or it's just another mass, or give me a second. This is how I process thoughts in real life. I go through different drafts in my mind. But it's like this. So the value that you get from something like a Hulu or a Netflix is like the sheer mass amount of access and volume in which that you are getting access to. But with YouTube Red, it's the same content, but with a few new series, but you don't get any more intimate with the, like, you don't get as an intimate of a connection. And it's not offering you any more in that sense. And I think Patreon just does that better as far as like paying YouTubers and creators for the specific content that people want to support. Like, not only do they get to choose how much they get to support, but the content is already free and they feel valued and they are playing a part in having that specific content be created.
Yes, I agree with all that. I mean, the Spoo says in the chat, this is not really a precedent though, because YouTube has had paid channel subscriptions already. That's true, although I don't think I've used any of them. I don't think I've even like watched any of those. But anyway, and then and even video on demand content many years ago. Also true, although that obviously didn't work out very well. You know, the thing about it is that like with Patreon, you still have access to a lot of the functionality that YouTube Red would potentially give you, which is, for example, like special things. You can have videos that are unlisted to the public, but like just distribute them to your Patreon patrons. And then even if it's really cheap, even if they're only paying you like $1 a month, you might still have that unlisted video available to them. Right. So they end up getting a better benefit than having to pay for YouTube Red. But on the other hand, if you're somebody like me who subscribes to almost 900 channels, and I'd like to have like 100 or 200 of my content creators get some money from me, I know that AdSense isn't going to give them squat, so that's not useful. And my Patreon, I can't afford to pay like 200 content creators $1 a month each. I can't do that. So if I pay $10 a month, then maybe like a tiny portion of that goes to them, and I know that at least I'm contributing to them a little bit. And if there are lots of people like me, then you know it accumulates. So there's definitely a benefit to content creators in that way, so long as YouTube isn't hiding something in the background about how the money goes out. Like they say that it's 55% of the revenue goes to the content creators. At least it's related to the revenue. But you know, there could be like additional costs, which maybe that $5.50 might get reduced to like $2 distributed among all the content creators that I watch. In which case, it becomes a lot less useful. It basically becomes AdSense again.
Yeah, well, it just becomes like the ATM, just like, listen, we gotta charge you like $5 more to process this. We have to charge you money to get access to your money. It's just like, what? Why? It doesn't cost this much.
Yeah, but as long as they're being upfront about everything, it might work out just fine.
Yeah.
Oh, Mandy S in the chat also points out they're cautiously pleased with the downloading for offline watching option. That is true. That would be cool if I were like in the airport waiting for like half an hour before I start boarding, and I just load all the YouTube videos that I want to watch on the flight. That is pretty cool. And it means I can like do it legally. It means I can do it without having to use a third-party software. Yeah, that would be neat.
Yeah, I do like that, because I used to when I used to watch a lot more video podcasts, I would do that a lot. Like before I went for a long trip, I'm like, okay, well, I want to download all of these podcasts so I can watch them at any point in time. So yeah, I am looking forward to that. It's just, I'm not looking forward enough to pay for it. Yes, like that's my thing. It's like already with just my finances, and like we're trying to budget and save up money, and we have like student loans that we're trying to pay off. It's just like I gotta tell my money where to go, and I feel like I can't justify giving it to YouTube for that one feature right now.
Yeah, I understand, and I might end up paying for YouTube Red if a bunch of the content creators that I watch in a month from now say, hey, guys, it turns out we are making some decent money from Red. So if you sign up for Red, I would appreciate it. If the content creators I watch say that after like a month or so of watching the analytics and the money come in, then I will, reconsider some of my Patreon subscriptions right now and maybe shift over to Red instead. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I'm just not jumping onto it right now because just like you, that $10 a month is a significant amount for me. I can't just do it.
Yeah.
Christy in the chat says, I definitely feel like they are charging too much for YouTube Red. It's even more than Netflix, which doesn't make any sense. Yeah. That's another thing I thought about with regards to the difference between the structure of YouTube Red and something like Netflix, is that with Netflix, they can have millions of subscribers in the country, so that even if somebody is not actually making use of their service, they still have their monthly payment to Netflix, and that helps cover the costs for everybody. It helps distribute the money to the creators of the video. YouTube, somebody who signs up for YouTube Red is going to be making use of the service daily. I would, if I were only watching YouTube a couple times a month, I wouldn't pay $10 a month for the YouTube Red. I'm only doing that if I'm doing that on the daily. Netflix, I don't watch necessarily every day. Some people do, sure, but there are days when that day's portion of my monthly subscription is just paying for the service without my making use of it. And the fact that there are millions of people like me means that Netflix can make some money off of it. And I think that's why Netflix can charge less, because they have such a huge customer base and many of their customers aren't using them every single day. Whereas YouTube, they probably have calculated that, okay, because our users are using us every single day, what do we need to put into our resources in order to pay for this to be functional? And that's why it costs more. That's my supposition. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just guessing.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense too, because the major difference, I don't know, have you seen this? It's like an interview with someone who said that we don't pay for anything. We don't pay for products. We pay for access to things. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like he said, like for Netflix, for example, you are not paying to watch. You're not paying for these movies or TV shows. You are paying for access to the movies and TV shows. And it's the same, like you don't pay for internet. You pay for access to internet. And I think that's a difference in their structure, because like with YouTube, we are paying for access to what we already have, but with a couple of different features and a few series. But if those are the only things that we're paying for, and that's not the only way we can get it, then the value doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like people who, for a long time, with cable, they'd say, well, we have access to all these cable channels, but I only really watch this. Right. But because this is the only way you can get it, it's justified. But like if Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network were free, I mean, I love everything that they create, but like I'm not going to pay upwards of like $80 a month just so I can watch those two channels. Yeah,
no, that makes sense. Yes, thinking about it as paying for the access rather than the content, that does change the color of this discussion. Got a comment from Michael. I'm gonna put this up on the screen here. Isn't that neat? Michael Crumbean says, isn't that cool? Anyone watch Hank Green's 20-minute video on the subject? He seems somewhat bullish on YouTube Red. I did watch it. I think it was like 17 minutes, but yes, it was lengthy.
Hey, Michael.
That's cool. And that comment is going to be saved on the Google post, which I will link to in the description. I think that he was concerned that people were overreacting, which we were. And he explained a couple of things. He actually talked to YouTube, which is cool. It's cool that someone actually like puts up a video after they talk to YouTube themselves. And he seems fairly positive about it, but he does point out that Patreon is also good. He's positive, but he's also behind Patreon. So
yeah. Well, and I would also add this. I think a good thing that YouTube is doing, though, and that they have learned from in the past, is that they are making this optional. Like,
yes.
This is not something that they rolled out with the paid subscription model, which I think is an option for people who aren't like us, who aren't regular YouTube viewers, but who do watch content like that. I think that market of viewer is either growing or present enough for them to want to optimize those kinds of people. I've yet to ever be a person who would ever do a pay-per-view model with cable or anything like that.
Yeah.
But there are a ton of people who are, and there are a ton of people who do that as well. And I think with YouTube making it an optional thing, something that you can opt into, is something that's smart, because usually YouTube is like, oh, great, we're going to do this thing that no one's on board with, and you can deal with it.
Yes. As Christy points out in the chat, as Mandy points out in the chat, the month-long free trial that they're offering is going to help a lot of people make up their minds. And as Spoo points out, the cost of YouTube Red, once you actually get into the cost model, is as much as Spotify, and it includes Google's music service as well. Now, I don't pay for Google's music service, even though I have an Android phone, even though I listen to Google's radio. I don't mind the ads. I basically don't mind the ads anywhere. They don't bother me that much.
Okay. Well, I want to pick up on that, but go ahead.
That's basically all I was going to say, is that the fact that Google's music is included isn't a big incentive for me, because I wouldn't use that anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have this interesting thing, like when you say that you don't mind commercials or ads, I think I would think that might be a generational thing. Like for me, I grew up with commercials, and my parents, I think last year they got TiVo into one of their systems, and I'm like, hey, you can actually skip past the ads, and they're like, what? And they almost didn't even want to. They were so used to and were conditioned to ads being a part of the program that they weren't bothered by them. And I thought that was really interesting, because I'm not as bothered by ads. Now, I'm bothered by the same bad ads over and over again.
Well, yes.
That I'm bothered by. And that's kind of what Hulu does as well. They'll play the same really bad ad every time. I'm just like, if this was at least entertaining, I wouldn't mind.
Or a different ad.
It will be the same ad throughout the entire program. I'm like, oh, is Shark Tank worth this? Is it really worth this? But I think it might just be another kind of generational thing, because for me, I don't mind ads that much. And even though I'm paying for something like Hulu, I know one of my friends hates the ads. He's like, it's not worth paying for it if they still have ads. I'm like, oh, but it's totally worth it for me, because I get to watch TV. Because Netflix and Hulu is my TV. That's it. And the alternative is paying more than that. And so I'm good with it.
Yeah, I cut my cord for the cable TV a long time ago. I obviously am paying for very fast internet access, and I'm happy to do that. But I don't watch cable TV anymore. I now watch Netflix, and I'll watch the free shows on Hulu. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I have been tempted, when I want to watch the entire season run of a show, and Hulu has it and nobody else does. I'm tempted. So I can see that.
All of Adventure Time. Watch it.
Nice. That's good. But yeah, I think you're right. I'm 40 years old. Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 26.
26. So I'm 40 years old. I'm a little bit older than you, and I am a lot more used to ads just being a part of my life. I didn't get into TiVo until 10 years ago, which actually sounds like a long time, but it was 4 or 5 years after TiVo had gotten really popular. Okay. And because I didn't really see the point. I was like, I have my old VHS tape recorder. I could just use that, and if there are commercials, who cares? But my girlfriend at the time loved it, and so she convinced me to give it a shot. And I mean, on YouTube, the pre-rolls, sometimes I actually will just sit there and watch them, because once in a while there'll actually be some pretty good pre-roll ads. A couple of the the sports product manufacturer, like a Nike, will have a cool ad that actually is about women in sports or something, and I'll actually watch the whole thing because it's interesting. Yeah. But occasionally they suck, and I'll wait for 5 seconds and I'll skip past the ad, and that's, you know, I feel bad that content creator didn't get my money, but, you know, the advertisers should come up with better advertisements.
Yeah,
just make better commercials that make me want to sit through them. They do exist. I'll watch movie trailers occasionally when they pre-roll them as well. The ones I don't like, the ones I can't stand, are the overlay ads. Like, that just, it bothers me because it cuts into my viewing of the actual content.
Yeah.
I can't stand those.
Yeah.
So I'll turn those off immediately. But again,
that's me. I do that. So I'll remedy that.
But again, if, you know, it's a content creator where I want to divvy up some of my entertainment budget and give them some of my money, I'll Patreon them, and I'm happy to do it. Or like if they have a thing, like they release a CD, I'll buy the CD. Or if they have a Kickstarter, I'll join the Kickstarter. There's a lot of ways I feel I can contribute to the content creator besides watching their ad. I don't use ad block on YouTube because I realize that's basically kind of a dickish thing to do. I use it everywhere else, but on YouTube I do not, because that's kind of a jerky thing to do to these people who I allegedly like. I don't want to just talk about YouTube Red, because that's obviously it's a current thing. I'm glad that we talked about it for a little while. I'm glad to hear your thoughts on it. But you know, you've been making YouTube videos for a while. You mentioned that. When did you get into YouTube?
It was senior year of high school for me in 2006. And this is where technology was, everyone. I was exporting all of my video projects, because I took broadcast journalism. That was my introduction to video production. And so I was copying all of my files to a VHS tape so that I could have it outside of the computer room. And because like hard drives and thumb drive, like all these things weren't like as popular. Like I still was writing papers on a floppy disk. Like I was saving papers to floppy disk.
Oh,
but anyway,
man.
Yeah. And so that was my first introduction to YouTube, and I signed up for it the same way that I signed up for any account. Like I just used a username that I knew was available, because at that time channels weren't like a big thing, I think, except for like iJustine. I remember iJustine being like a prominent face on YouTube at that time. And then my first video was me uploading a video to apply for a scholarship. It's this energy efficiency commercial that I made for an energy efficient like college scholarship. I didn't get it, but then I entered. My second video was me entering a competition, a Target competition, another video competition for is their campaign called College Reality Check. And I did what I didn't know at the time was vlogging. Basically, like it was me talking directly to the camera and then me doing these cutaways. And I was just thinking, yeah, I'll do this thing and that'll be fun. Like I thought of it more of like a sketch, but my energy is awful. And like I have these dead eyes. It's just like me trying to memorize my lines. And it's just like, oh goodness. Like I think it's unlisted right now. I might publish it eventually.
That's awesome. That's amazing that you're like getting into YouTube. Like right at the start, you're using the videos to further like advancement in part of your life. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then it wasn't until 2011 that I was being like a proper YouTuber, I would say, because that's when because prior to that, I was using YouTube and online video largely as a means to try to enter these different scholarships or these contests, or to create original material for different things I was a part of. There's like this online website that doesn't exist anymore called Hubba-U.
I've never even heard of that.
Right. Well, it was created on my college campus, and they were trying to create like this. Basically, like this is at a time when everyone was like, "We're going to create the new Facebook." Like, so it was going to be like our campus Facebook, and it got some traction, but it ended up just being done with eventually. They didn't want to pay for the URL anymore. But I would create content for there, and I also made videos with my improv comedy troupe on campus. And once I graduated, I was like, okay, great. Well, I'm a graduated video human. I was doing freelance work, but I wanted to make money doing videos. So I entered in as many contests as I could, including the YouTube Creator Institute contest that they were having at the time. And they were like, we want to basically see who we want to bring in as like the next YouTube class. Basically, it'll be the first class of people where they would teach you the ins and outs of YouTube and help you become a better video creator. And I was one of the 10 contestants that won for the Chicago place. And so I went to Columbia College in Chicago. And for 2 months, I was there to make and learn about nothing but online video. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was super awesome. And I met a lot of great video creators like JK Denham, aka Quality Pops.
Quality Pops.
Yeah, that's where I first met him. And I met like Moondog, Changu, Gretchen, Jim Lama. And there were just so many people there. And like, I didn't, again, like I said, I wasn't like a proper YouTuber at that point in time because like I didn't follow anyone except for like Final Cut King, but because I wanted to learn like the different things he was teaching about. But like they're saying, oh, do you know who the Vlog Brothers are? I'm like, no. It's like, oh, Ricky, you gotta watch the Vlog Brothers. Oh, you know who Daily Grace is? No. Oh, dude, you gotta watch Weezy Regular. Oh, you would love his stuff. Like I just like started falling in love with YouTube because I'm like, wait, all these people are making the things that this is awesome. And so ever since then, I've just been creating videos and not stopping.
Wow. You're like, I mean, you're not OG, but you've been around for a while.
Yeah.
It's amazing. In the chat, Mandy says, wow, I wish I'd had that idea in 2008 when I was graduating college with a production degree. I'm not even sure I really knew what YouTube was.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely didn't. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. So many people, and what I was treating YouTube as was just like, great, this is like a free online hard drive.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I want this video file to be available for me when I need it. I can just go to YouTube and just upload it. Like I didn't see it as like a channel being like a proper like YouTube channel with playlists. And I remember when Cosmic Panda was first being released and people were very opinionated about it. Like that's how long ago.
I don't even know what that is. I thought of it. I use YouTube the same way. You know how once upon a time, maybe people still do this, but like you'd have the family member who would email you things. There were like forwards of other things.
Yep.
I envisioned YouTube as being like that, except with videos. Like you want to share a video that is like a dorky joke video with somebody else. You put it on YouTube and then you send somebody the link to it, and then everybody sees the same video. That's what I thought YouTube was, like a video file sharing space. Up until like 2012, 2013, I am a baby to this environment.
Yeah.
Let's see, there are a couple responses to more stuff about YouTube Red and the advertisements. Here's one in the comments. Michael again, and he says, yes, please, regarding better ads. Yeah. I think we all want better if they're going to be ads at all. I think we all want better ads on our online space here. And Mandy says, I've been fine with ads until recently when I'm getting local car commercials with no option to skip. No option to skip is the worst. Like 5 seconds I can handle, but more than that, why? Why would you make us do this? I just want to go to another video at that point.
And I remember, I kid you not, it was some Jason Statham movie, and it was a non-skippable ad. It was 3 minutes, and I couldn't skip. It was a trailer.
That could be longer than the actual video.
Yes, it was basically the entirety of this movie. I'm like, I never want to see this movie. Like it worked in the complete opposite way that they wanted it to. I'm like, oh wow, I've seen this ad a lot. I never want to see this movie ever again.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that way about some of the pre-roll stuff, especially if it's pre-roll stuff for something that's kind of offensive. I'm like, why am I being forced to watch this 7 times before the videos today? I never want to see this product or movie ever again.
Yeah.
Spoo and Mandy, or actually mostly Spoo, says that this strategy behind YouTube Red might be a strategy to attack Spotify. So people will abandon Spotify and go for YouTube Red plus Google Music for approximately the same price as Spotify. I mean, that would make sense, but I don't know that that's the same customer base. I don't know that's the same demographic. We'll see.
Yeah. Because it's random thing. So I got a degree in radio, television, and film, and then I switched it to film, television, and digital media because that was a new thing. I learned nothing about digital media. I learned it myself, basically. But one of the things I know that I think a market that they might be tapping into is like people who, because you have to pay to have music play at like different doctors' offices or buildings. Like anytime you hear music inside a place, you have to pay. I forget, like whatever music company, you have to pay your dues in order to do that. So it might be something along those lines where they're like, hey,
keep going.
Okay. It might be a thing where they are trying to hit these people who are already paying for products like music or online video, or maybe they are paying for a service that allows them to play and stream just nonstop videos. Because I've been seeing a lot of like comic shops, for example, play variant inside the comic shops, or comic misconceptions, like these comic book YouTube channels, like they're playing these videos in the background because it matches the environment. So it might be a thing.
That's actually
like Spotify, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I never thought about that. The specific environments that make sense to use that. That's all. Look at that. Your degree is coming in useful already.
Yeah.
In the comments, Michael points out that you're talking about coming into YouTube was practically a superhero origin story.
Thank you, Michael.
Which is great, because that segues me in to the fact that right now so much stuff is happening in the world of heroes and like live action TV shows and movies. So much is happening.
Oh my word.
Like did you watch the Jessica Jones trailer?
Which one? Is there another one that came out?
One just came out on Friday. It's like a full trailer. It's like 2 minutes long.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, I'll have to open up in one of my 30 tabs. No, but I want to see it. Ooh, okay,
it's dark. It's dark. Did you watch Daredevil on Netflix?
Oh, did I? I didn't watch Daredevil as much as I experienced Daredevil on Netflix.
They're definitely keeping in with that same dark, gritty feel to it. It's more of Hell's Kitchen. I think we're gonna see like Jessica probably like beat up a couple of people who will talk about there being the devil of Hell's Kitchen as well. I think we're gonna see that because I saw that in like a preview.
Yes.
Yeah, and she has legit powers. And we see Luke Cage. There's a lot of Luke Cage in the trailer. I'm very excited about that.
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited.
So that is something that I'm looking forward to. That's one of those things where, like, I can't really justify taking the day off of work to watch all of Jessica Jones when it comes out. But I know that some people are going to be doing that, and I'm jealous of them. I will definitely watch it all, probably before the end of Saturday on that weekend.
Do you watch Binge Watchers?
No, what's Binge Watchers?
So Binge Watchers, it's Ron. He is he's a YouTuber, and he binge watched all of Daredevil like in a matter of like 24 hours or something. Scott from NerdSync did an interview with him. I'm just like, this is amazing. Like him and his Ron and his wife, they were like, okay, great, we're gonna prep for this, and like they watched it just all the way through so they could be like the first people to review it. And
that's awesome.
It's actually kind of amazing. And he does reviews of different shows and things like that. But yeah, he does that. Like he's like, okay, if it releases here and we start like at midnight or like 10 o'clock, we can kind of get it into like the next day. But man, once it releases, like I'm gonna try to watch as much of it as I can, like just up front, because Daredevil was so good. So good.
Yeah. And you know, David Tennant plays the Purple Man in Jessica Jones, and we just like the last teaser was him on the wall, and he's a lot more in this full trailer. He's terrifying. He is scary.
I'm so excited. I am so looking forward to watching this trailer. Okay, I need to put something else on. I'm just looking at the trailer just throughout the rest of us talking. Like, yeah. So Jessica Jones, right?
David Tennant makes me think of another thing that I think you and I both like, which is Doctor Who.
Oh yes, where's my sonic screwdriver? Yeah.
Excellent. All right, good. Well, actually, this brings up. Have you been watching the current run? Series?
Yes.
Okay. So, what do you think of the abandonment of the sonic screwdriver in favor of a sonic sunglasses?
My initial opinion is like it makes sense because like. Here's the thing, like at this point in time, I'm so in love with the I'm blanking on his name.
Peter Capaldi?
Yeah, I am so in love with the Peter Capaldi doctor that he can do no wrong right now. like I love this version of him because for me, every second season of a new Doctor is, for me, just the best because that Doctor has stepped into the role a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt Smith was great in his first season, but in his second season, he really came into his own. Same with David Tennant. And that's what Capaldi's doing. Like, he's wearing a hoodie and this blazer, and it's like, yeah, wearable technology. I'm going to play guitar. Like, it makes sense. Like, it kind of points to, for me at least, like the Gallifreyan nature of the Doctor. Like, the Doctor does things that is a little quirky, but not because he does it for quirky's sake, but because he's the Doctor. Like, one of the Doctors literally wore celery for seasons.
Yes, Peter Davidson's Doctor. Yes.
Like, it can't get weirder than that. Like, he's just more, he basically looks like a golfer or like someone who's going off to preparatory school and wears celery prominently on his lapel. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I kind of like him. I do miss the sonic screwdriver, but I know that without too many spoilers, or how do you feel about spoilers on here? Do you want me to?
I mean, it is a live show.
Okay, well, I won't spoil it.
Yeah.
But like, people who are against the Sonic Shades have a moment that they will appreciate in this last week's episode.
Yes.
But like, I don't hate them. I see why they missed the sonic screwdriver, but like, I don't know. I just love Capaldi so much that it doesn't bother me that much.
I mean, Capaldi's what he's bringing to the Doctor feels a lot like early Doctors. For his like the first, second, third, and fourth Doctor, like lots of that is in Capaldi's version of it. Whether or not he's consciously influenced by it, that's what I'm feeling when I'm watching this. Asante has nothing to contribute, but wanted to say hi in the chat. Hi, Asante.
Hey.
And I'm not opposed to the Doctor changing at all. I'm not opposed to that. That's great, but I do think it's weird when one version of the Doctor is very 21st century. It's very like our time, like sunglasses, wearable technology. If you talk about that kind of stuff, that's our time. That's a little strange. If you like pull stuff from like the 1800s and from the 1500s and from like, I don't know, from eras past or from alien planets, and you put all that stuff in along with current technology, along with modern things in the Doctor, that would make sense. But when it's all stuff like the hoodie and glasses and all that feels like now, which is kind of strange. I don't want the Doctor to feel like now. I want the Doctor to feel alien.
Totally. No, I hear that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I'm thinking back to like the fez isn't something that a lot of people are wearing, and neither is the bow tie or even 3D glasses like Tennant.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, those were all weird things, very unique things to their interpretations of the Doctor, but they weren't things that were of that time. They were just like things randomly throughout history, which is, when I imagine the Doctor going into the wardrobe to just pull out random stuff to assemble his outfits for the day, I expect it to be like random stuff from the last 2,000 years, not from the last 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
Christy says, I'm glad you didn't say any spoilers. I would have had to mute it. I mean, we spoiled a little bit, but not too much, I hope. And Mandy says, I'm just exhausted on Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who. I want a new showrunner to bring a new energy into it. I mean, this is a point of contention for a lot of people. I myself am not a fan of Moffat's showrunning. I like his stories. I think he writes some great stories, but I don't like his showrunning. I missed Russell T Davies. Are you a Moffat fan or a not Moffat fan?
Davies. Well, here's the thing with Moffat. And I say this about a lot when talking about other TV shows. It's like, if we started with Moffat, like if Moffat was the first, if we started the reboot of the Doctor with Moffat, I probably wouldn't have that much of a problem with him because it's how he writes and it's what we are used to. But Davies did such a good job at telling these really long stories. Like, he was just so consistent with just like every single thing that you're seeing, even some of the filler episodes, is a part of the arc of these characters in this longer story. Each season felt like one long episode, like, oh my, yes. But Moffat, but that's also because Russell T Davies was very hands-on. Like, he basically wrote every single episode of his run just because of how hands-on he was. But Moffat is a little loose, and he'll he will write a few episodes and he will carry through on his arcs, but some of the other writers intermix between, they don't always point to that same bigger story, I feel like. And so because of that, I'm not as big of a fan as of Moffat's. But like when Moffat writes, he writes really great episodes. Like I was about to say The Doctor's Wife, but that was not him. Gaiman. Oh, but that episode. Oh, that's I think
almost everybody's favorite for Moffat.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, but what's another one? He did a good one recently. I think even like the first 2 episodes of this season that were Moffat, I'm like, these are actually really good Dalek stories. But I feel like it depends on. Sometimes I feel like Moffat just gets in the way of himself. Like sometimes he'll do the thing where he's like, great, mystery. You guys want mystery? Who is this person? That's all they are. They're just this big mystery, and we gotta figure it out. I'm like, but Moffat, who are they as a character? Why should I care about them? Because I don't. Like, it took until this season last season for me to really care about Clara as a companion. Because before that, I could not care less because she was so empty as a character. I'm just like, wait, I'm sorry, why is she here? And what points to her being this adept to do all these things? I mean, and again, what is her connection to her home world? Like, what is her connection to being on Earth? Because it doesn't feel like it's anything. Like, that was my problem with Amy and Rory, for example, is just like, I don't believe that they would want to be on Earth because we've only seen them enjoy their time with the Doctor. Why would they want to be on Earth? Nothing has been drawing them back. And then, like, even with like Rory's parents, like, oh, well, my dad's here. I'm just like, why is he suddenly here? He was not at their wedding, and he never showed up until he needed them for a convenient plot device. I'm like, Davies planted these characters, like, he planted family members throughout, not just for the sake of having them there for the sake of story, but to ground the human characters and to show that there are risks when you are traveling with the Doctor and that you are compromising your Earth relationships to travel through time and space, and you are making that choice. And that's something I loved about Davies, is because he showed that, like, hey, listen, traveling with the Doctor is fun, but it's also at the cost of missing out on these people who you spent most of your life with.
That is so true. Yeah, like with Rose had her mom and Mickey. Martha had her whole family. Like her whole family was all over the place throughout that series. Yeah. Donna with Wilf, one of my favorite characters ever, and her mom. Yeah. That's really true. The family was not like an afterthought. The family was a significant part of the companions' contribution to the show throughout the Davies era. And until you mentioned it, I actually had not realized. I had not remembered that Rory's dad wasn't at their wedding.
He wasn't.
What the hell? I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
That's so weird. That's so weird. Yeah.
And then Amy's family makes like one appearance ever. And then
because the whole point of Amy was that her family was missing. That was her core mystery throughout the first part of the run.
Yeah.
It's kind of spoilers, but it's a couple years ago. So I think I'm going to let that go.
Yeah.
But the current series of Doctor Who, like the 2-part, they've all been 2-parters, first of all, which is interesting. The 2-parter Daleks, the 2-parter Under the Water thing, the current 2-parter with Maisie Williams. I've actually been like, I was about the Dalek show, but the underwater show, the other underwater episodes were great. Maisie Williams episodes, I'm waiting for the finish of the story today. I'll watch it later today probably, but it was pretty decent as well. Like, this might actually end up being a really good series for me.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And an interesting thing about the 2-parters is, like, during the Doctor's final season, or the 11th Doctor's final season, Moffat just made this big thing. He's like, no more 2-parters.
Yeah.
Each episode is going to feel like a movie. I'm just like, Moffat, just stop it. Please stop it. And like every episode had its own movie poster, and that's like the big thing that he wanted to do because he can. But like, I was just like, no, just tell a good story. Like, just tell a story that if it needs to be told in 2 parts, then tell it in 2 parts. But for a while, he just like, no more 2-parters. And so I'm glad that he is doing 2-parters, because that's something that I really loved and got me really interested in Doctor Who in Davies' era, is because he wasn't afraid to tell a long story. Because I remember that I forget what episode. I think it was like Are You My Mummy episode.
Oh yeah, right in the first series. Yeah.
Oh, and that I'm just like, what? That's the end of it? And I watched it immediately. Play next immediately. And
yeah, those are great, and they harken back to the old era. Admittedly, the classic Doctor Who had like 5-parters, but still, like a 2-part show was really pretty good during Davies' era, and it is weird that Moffat wanted to get away from that, because, I mean, historically, as all of us nerds and geeks know, historically, Doctor Who and movies didn't go together very well. They did not turn out too well. I don't know why you want to force that format on Doctor Who. In the chat, we are joined by Francie.
Yay!
Hi, Francie, although she's posting from the wrong account, but that is fine. And Francie points out that the Are You My Mummy episode, Eccleston's era, is the first Doctor Who episode she's ever seen. It was good. And also had Harkness. Also had Jack Harkness in it.
Oh, man.
I don't want to spoil things for current viewers, but let me just say that very recently, maybe in the last week or so, I've had certain Jack Harkness feelings arise. And I'm hopeful that these continue. These are I'm spoiling it. I'm spoiling it, and I don't mean to, but I'm just so excited about the possibility of a Harkness type character.
Let me tell you something. Like the Captain Jack Harkness feels that I have are just so, they're too big to contain. Like, I love Captain Jack Harkness. Like, he is one of my favorite characters, and he's just so I love him. I just love him so much. And every time they allude to him in the series, I'm just like, please just bring him back. Like, I just want Captain Jack with the Doctor again. Please just make that happen.
I mean, it would be beautiful, but John Barrowman. First of all, John Barrowman has like some problematic stuff as an actor, but that's fine. But like he's so busy on Arrow.
Oh yeah,
he's very busy on Arrow. But yeah, I would like Captain. If nothing else, I think Captain Jack Harkness was the first like canonically non-heterosexual character on the Doctor Who series, which made it awesome.
Yeah.
And the fact that he just went like full pansexual across like the entire universe, like not just human genders, any gender, you name it, I'm in it. And that was just fantastic. I was so happy about that.
Like, I love, because what was it? Torchwood. Him throughout Torchwood, because a lot of people were, at least a lot of my friends, they were turned off by Torchwood, mainly because it was just so much darker. Mm-hmm. And they were pointing out, like, oh yeah, that's right, Doctor Who is a family show. I'm like, what? Like, I had had nightmares from Doctor Who before, but I forget that it is a very much a family show. But then, like, the kind of things and stories that they were able to tell, like the origin of his name, I'm just like, why am I crying? And Torchwood, this is such a beautiful episode. Have you seen it?
Torchwood? I've seen Torchwood. I'm not sure what you're talking about the origin of his name.
Of Captain Jack Harkness.
Oh, no, I don't remember that. I don't remember. I mean, I watched all the episodes. It's just been a long time.
It's the one where he travels back in time and he meets Captain Jack Harkness.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, my gosh. Was that the one where Spike guest starred?
I think. Yes.
Wasn't it like, there was like another two-parter, I think. And there was James Marsters on there. Wow.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking at Frenzy's. She made a comment. She said, I knew John Barrowman before Doctor Who from musicals. Hashtag hipster.
Fine, Francie. You beat me. That's fine. That's fine. But yeah, I really liked Torchwood too. I mean, all these spin-offs during Davies' run, Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures, I used to watch all of this stuff.
Did you hear that they're doing a new spinoff?
I heard that they're talking about it, about the Coal Hill School.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that would go, because I don't love any characters at the Coal Hill School right now. So it'd be hard for me to get into that, but maybe that could be interesting. I like the idea of it. I like the idea of it.
Yeah, it all depends on, because I know this is probably going to be like another type of family type show. I think maybe even in the vein of the Sarah Jane Adventures. But I'm up for any other Doctor Who related media.
I mean, when it was announced, it was before we were very far into this current series, and you know, a lot of the responses I saw on Twitter were, "Well, if you're gonna make a spinoff, how about you fix the main show first?" Because hate Moffat. That was a lot of the response I saw on Twitter. And you know, to be fair, if we were still in the last series where Claire was being treated so poorly, and the PE teacher was treated so badly by the Doctor, if I were still in that series, I would be just as disinterested in a spinoff. But now that this series has kind of won me over again, I'm more open to it.
Yeah, because man, it was such a struggle. Because like I felt like last season I stuck through it for no other reason than they finally started giving Clara a personality, and they gave her obstacles, because that was the thing that they refused to do. Like when it was, I think it was a Silver Moon episode or something like that, like where they went to the moon and there were a whole bunch of Cybermen.
Yes, that
episode. They like the Doctor said, "Great, I need you to lead this army." Claire's like, "Okay." I said, "I'm sorry, what?"
Yeah, it was very weird, and I was honestly, it's the first time I've been disappointed in a Neil Gaiman story, because he wrote that one.
Yeah,
and like I was like, you even have Warwick Davis, you even have Willow in your cast, and I still was not happy with this story. That's what happened there. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Francie also says, "I love that the villain from the underwater episodes actually looked like a really creepy alien." He did. Right? That was a scary alien.
That was like, ugh. Like, and they've been doing a good job with this series of like having the aliens really look alien, and I like it. But like, I always love the Doctor's response. The Doctor's response isn't like, huh, but it's just like, okay, so listen, I don't care how scary you look. Okay, what you're doing is not right. I'll give you a chance to get it together. It's like, Doctor, you're just, yes.
The other thing about Doctor's response to the aliens that I really, really like is that so many times when an alien appears weird in some fashion by human norms, the Doctor will say, "You're beautiful." And he'll be like, "Oh, look at you, beautiful thing, and how amazing you are." And I love that concept that he just doesn't have the human norms with regards to appearances, which is exactly as it should be.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see here. I did want to talk about other things besides Doctor Who. I think we've been talking about Doctor Who for like half an hour. So like other topics. I like the fact that Stewdippin as a channel is all about these nerdy things. Was that always going to be the direction of your channel?
Oh, interesting question. Thank you for asking it. Goodness. I don't think so. So when I was at the YouTube Creator Institute, they were saying if you have some kind of show or series, do that, because it's something that people can align themselves with and know what to expect. And so for a long time, I did a series called It's Gonna Be a Thing. And it was a blog I started after being inspired by How I Met Your Mother, Barney Stinson, before he became as problematic as he was. Because originally he was just like a dude who was like, he's like, yeah, wear suits. Like the first season, Barney Stinson was what I was super inspired by. I'm like, oh wow, like he has all these things. Like, no, it's the lemon law. It's gonna be a thing. And he's like, yeah, I would like doing laser tag and dressing up in suits. Like he was in my mind, he was just like this really cool, somewhat classical, classic style character, but who like wants to do all these different things. I'm like, oh, that's me. Like, and I tried so hard to do things, and I'm like, wait. So I'm going to start a blog called It's Gonna Be a Thing on this site called Tumblr. Like that's where my Tumblr handle comes from. It's going to be a thing.tumblr.com. Because I'm like, it's just going to be me talking about these different things that I think should be a thing. And that's what I used it as for a long time. But then I kind of abandoned it because it didn't get any traction on the blog side of things. But I'm like, well, maybe I could do a video series on it. And that's what my channel was originally going to be about. It's going to be that series and then sketches as well. because I did just a handful of sketches, and I got to a point on my channel where I couldn't come up with any more things. Basically, like I was like, I think I'm thinged out. Like I think like all the things I wanted to create was outside of that. And I wanted to do more of the sketches and I wanted to talk about different topics. I'm just like, I don't know how to do this per se. And then I think I just said, well, I'm just going to just take a step away from it's going to be a thing and just start creating the things I want to create. And that's when I started kind of exploring more of the fun, nerdy videos type thing. Because I think Andre from Black Nerd Comedy, the kind of videos that he made really helped me to embrace being a black nerd kind of thing. Because like it's like, oh wow, this guy's doing it. It's like, oh wow, so I'm not alone. Like it's felt like for years. Cool. And so I just started naturally embracing more of just like me being me and liking things like Doctor Who or movies or retro TV and movies. And I think it just more and more became a natural progression of like, okay, great. So what's sustainable for me is being me. So that's kind of
makes sense.
Yeah, that's how it evolved into it being more nerdy content.
That's very cool. Yeah, I'm also subscribed to Black Nerd Comedy, and Andre is a hoot. And I like that he's like, I think in the last year he's kind of blown up success-wise. He's all over the place now, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I saw him at SGC, which is Screw Attack Gaming Convention, and he spoke on this panel with other YouTubers, and he said, in the last year, I've gained more subscribers than I have in the last 5 years of me.
Wow.
YouTube videos, and I'm like, oh, and so his main thing was being persistent on YouTube. I did a mini rant of this on Snapchat a couple of days ago, but like the advice that a lot of YouTube will give you, and I got frustrated last year at VidCon, or it might even been the year before, where I was looking to grow my channel and everyone was saying, oh my gosh, listen, the thing you want to do, you got to be consistent. Like being consistent is the most important thing you can do on YouTube. I'm just like, I've been doing this for so long. Like, what do you mean be consistent? I've uploaded upwards of like 200 videos. Like, what do you mean? And Andre, when I went to this other convention, brought it home for me because he's like, it's not being consistent, it's being persistent. Because he's like, I've been doing this thing and I think he recently celebrated like 8 years of doing YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been doing YouTube for 8 years, and he's hosting panels at Comic-Con with the Ninja Turtles cast and Power Rangers cast. I'm like, dude, could you leave some dreams available for me to try to achieve? Because you're just doing all of it. And I'm like super, super proud and excited for him and all the things that he's doing. And it's just amazing how if he would have given up a while ago, then he wouldn't have had these opportunities. And if he wasn't persistent, it wouldn't be there. And so that's my mini rant about how great I think Andre is.
I mean, I'm right there with you. And like, you know, I think that he shows better than that typical YouTuber advice of just being consistent. He shows that a real avenue towards success appears to be not just being consistent in your channel, but being consistent about everything. Like he goes after like you pointed out, he goes to Comic-Con. He doesn't just do VidCon. He does like comic stuff as well. He does like he writes articles. He appears on other people's channels talking about nerdy things. It's all still him. It's all still like his core brand, I guess. Yeah. But he's like doing it not just on one channel. He's doing it everywhere. And I think that's kind of what you have to do these days. I don't have the time or energy for that, and I admire the people who do. I don't begrudge them at all. But it looks like that's what you kind of have to do. Oh,
totally. Well, and it's tough. I remember there's a point in time in my YouTube career, I guess. I was feeling weird saying, am I going to say career?
Yeah, you can say career.
My life and times as a YouTuber. It was like, I'm like, I have to compete with all these other people who do this for a living. Like, this is their job. Like, this is their full-time job doing YouTube, and I don't know if I can put that kind of time into it. And then I gave myself permission to not, because I'm like, okay, great. I will put what time I can put into it and acknowledge the fact that there are other people who are like this is their job and that it's okay for me to be where I'm at, kind of thing.
It's important that you don't beat yourself up, especially if this is not everything that you do. Like, I have a day job. I work 40 to 60, depending on the week, hours a week at my day job. Wow. I can't put in the personal resources to the channel that some other people can. Mm-hmm. Do you have a day job as well?
I do. I actually have my own business. I do video production. It's called Take Two Productions, and this is going to be me getting really awkward about myself because I get weird when I talk about myself and my business. Yeah, Take Two Productions is a video production company that creates awesome videos for awesome people. And it's me basically sharing my skill set of video production and editing with other people who I really think could benefit from either sharing their message through video, and I can save them a lot of time figuring it out because I've been doing it for a while and I really enjoy making videos.
That is awesome. I didn't realize that your day job was also video stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, I just surround myself with all video because like when I fell in love with it in 2006, I'm like, this, like my mind works in this. Like I can spend hours. At my previous job, I would work on videos all day and I would come home and work on videos. Like that's basically what I was already doing. I was like, oh, I can continue to do this, and it's been really great. Yeah,
that's awesome. That reminds me of Leslie Datsis of One Time Stories.
Yes,
her day job is also like video stuff, and then what did she do when she finished with the day job? More video stuff.
Oh yeah. I remember I was talking to a couple of people about making YouTube videos, and I don't know if you ran into this, but like talking to non-YouTube fluent people, I would say, the people who don't understand YouTube. I remember talking to someone about it, like, yeah, man, I just don't have the time for it. Like I couldn't do that. I couldn't do videos and spend that much time. And these are other video professionals. I'm just like, oh, interesting, because I love it. Like I want to, like I get itches when I don't create videos. Like I want to, and I'm always just thinking about these different ideas. I'm like, okay, so how can this work out? Like okay, well, if I do this, and like I think about all these different ways and how I can communicate and create content to share with people. Like I just love that so much.
You know, I understand that itch. I went August. I didn't do any YouTubing, and like every week I was thinking of so many things I wanted to make videos about, but I was taking a break and I didn't do it, but I got that itch.
Yeah.
In the chats, Sante says same for her, video all day long. Christy Turlin asks, what was the name of your production company again?
It is Take Two Productions. And
Take Two Productions.
The website is take2productions.tv if you want to check it out.
Nice. Nice. Take2productions.tv. Yeah. And then Francie also says, yep, in front of the camera, behind the camera, creating content. Yeah. So a lot of us are all about the video.
Oh yeah. Well, and I know Francie does a lot of writing, and I'm so impressed that Francie, I know you're watching this because you're in the comments, but like your ability to like write and format and just like have such thorough scripts is super, super impressive. So well done. Because she shares a lot of it on her Snapchat. I'm just like, oh, man, I'm like jotting down notes on like note cards. I'm just like, yeah, that'll be fine, and then I'll just make a video. Like this is a note card for like my next video, and nice. It's just like, okay, yeah, that'll be fine, and then I just improvise a lot of it.
I mean, I do the same thing. I use online note-taking places like a Google Keep or like a Evernote, something like that. I'll keep notes there, and they'll refer back to them when it's time for me to make a vlog. But a lot of the stuff that I do tends to be improvised. Her scripts are fantastic. Like her review scripts, when she does reviews of The Leftovers or Heroes Reborn, or when she did reviews of Daredevil, fantastic, amazing stuff. I also like when she does like little cold opens where she acts out a scene from a show in a Francie way. Those are great. Those are really great.
I think one of my favorite ones, that when she did the recap for VidCon and she was dressing up like all these different people.
Yes.
She did the Shia LaBeouf. I just want to frame that video and just be like, that was great. Like that was just a great moment, Francie.
It's real good. But then she also says in the chats, Franzi says, I wish I could reach your awesome nerd level, Ricky. I mean, it's pretty high. Your leveling on nerddom is pretty darn high. I think I have to kill a few more characters to gain the XP to get up to your nerd level myself.
Well, thank you.
And then in the comments, Michael also come into the comments and points out that Andre, Black Nerd Comedy, is pretty darn funny. Yeah, definitely true. Definitely true.
Totally.
And then also that nerdiness is one of those things that has to come naturally. Every time a YouTuber consciously injects nerdy subjects just for views, it falls flat. And I agree. I've seen it happen. Not good. It's not good.
Yeah. Well, I think the way that like your shirt says, it's just the way that we love content is like, because I have a couple of friends who are like, well, I'm not nerdy enough to like walk into a comic book shop. I'm like, yes, you are. Like, you don't have, it's not like a competition. It's not like, all right, let's see, like, where's your nerd ID? It's like, if you are enthusiastic and if you're passionate and like you can like get excited about a thing, then like that informs like your nerdiness. Like, that's what I see it as, at least for me. Like,
I absolutely agree. I mean, I am not into nerdy gatekeeping at all. You know, everybody can be nerdy at whatever level they want, and I'm not going to deny them that. I'm just saying that you are particularly impressive.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Let's see here. In the chat, Mandy says, I love the idea of you doing YouTube, but having to deal with people I actually know potentially watching me is my biggest issue. Is that weird, or are you guys outgoing enough for it not to be a problem? What do you think, Ricky? Is it a problem for you when people you know outside of YouTube watch you on YouTube?
It's interesting. So I do get like super bashful about it because I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, thanks. Like, I don't know how to necessarily handle it. Like, that's how I'll say it. But like, I'm not like embarrassed by it or ashamed by it. Like, there's one video where what is it? Yeah, it's like a 5-second video, and this is actually what I said in my brain was like my reboot of the channel. It's like, I'm going to make a video right now, and I'm just going to start making content this way. And it was one where I said, I'm not wearing any pants, and it's me in Scooby-Doo boxers. And I have that up, and my mom's like, Ricky, you need to know that this might affect you getting jobs in the future. I'm just like, I don't know, Mom. Like, I'm sure they're not going to dig this deep. And I also don't think that it's going to be like, well, Ricky, you're perfectly qualified, but we found this video of you in Scooby-Doo boxers, and I'm an Astro fan myself, so I'm sorry, you just have to go. You have to go. With Jetsons, maybe be something different. But yeah, like, I think if you are looking for a way to get past that, you can do what Leslie does, because Leslie said this in the Less Than Famous panel. She's like, no, my YouTube videos go on my resume. Like, I let people know that I create videos and that I'm a writer and I can have this kind of creativity. So if you were to like say like, oh yeah, this is a creative project that I do, or this is a thing that I do, then it helps to normalize it for non-YouTube creators, I think.
That is really smart, which is no surprise coming from Leslie, who is very smart.
Yes.
In the chat, I see that Mr. Crispins has popped in and wanted to say hi to you.
How's it going, man? Good to see you.
And for me, like, one of the things that got me into doing YouTube was that some of my friends thought that I had good things to say and suggested that maybe I have like a written article, like a weekly article about the things that I wanted to say. And I decided to try doing it in a video format instead. So many of my friends knew from the get-go that I was going to get into this. And then I still post my videos on like Facebook and stuff. And my friends follow me on Twitter occasionally. So all the people in my offline life know that I do YouTube, and I embrace it. I mean, just like you're talking about, I normalize it by talking about it all the time.
Yep.
Everybody knows that I'm doing this. And this is even with the fact that I am introverted and socially awkward, and oftentimes, like, when I'm in front of my dear friends in an offline life, I will still be like quiet and don't know what to say and hide in a corner. I'm that kind of person, but for whatever reason, doing this to a camera doesn't bother me as much, and so I'm able to kind of embrace it here all by myself, and then I just keep on like talking about it when I do encounter people I know offline as well. Yeah. I don't know. I just if there was a hurdle for me, I got over it fast.
Yeah, and I also think it's like I think it also might be like the idea of it might be helpful that both of us, for the most part at least, we put a lot of who we are as it is online, so it's not like a very extreme like Jekyll Hyde personality change. Just like when you turn on the camera, you're like this super Fred like character or anything like that. Fred, for those of you watching, was one of the first like online personalities on YouTube very, very long time ago. And if you knew who it is, congratulations, you are a YouTube old timer.
Yeah, I only know about Fred not because I experienced the Fred phenomenon when it's happening, but because other OG YouTubers have talked about Fred, and so I've looked up a couple of videos. It's weird. It's weird to see such an acted vlogger, you know, like somebody who's not being real, who's they're being like a character. I mean, I know that was like a thing at the beginning, but I'm so used to the current vlogging being just people like actually being talking heads and being themselves in front of the camera that old style is different for me. It's weird for me to see.
Oh yeah. A fun thing I'll share. My first Twitter account, because I thought Twitter was stupid, was a character I created named Mad Dog Morgan. The Twitter account does not exist anymore, but basically he was an ex-convict tweeting about his life. And I wish I could save some of the tweets, but it was this character I created in improv. I'm like, what, Twitter? You have 140 characters and it's just like status updates? That's dumb. I'm going to create this joke account and just tweet nonsense.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was very fun. And then I created my regular account because one of my friends' mother thought that, it's like, hey, so is Ricky a convict? Like, is he is that something that he's just very open about? Like, I didn't know. So people think that you're an ex-convict, Ricky, which I'm not. And that's when I decided to get my regular account.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a criminal background. That, like, I think that's a lot more stigmatized than it should be.
Oh yeah.
Particularly in our country, where, you know, if you're brown or black, it's very likely that you're going to go to jail at some point in your life, and that is not your fault at all.
Right. Well, that's the other thing. The other reason why I deleted the account is because I realized how problematic I was being. And I was like, I should probably stop putting this out there because I don't want to make light of people's situations in this way. Which
is great. I am so glad that you like recognize that. I mean, I think many YouTubers who've been doing this for a while go through stages of learning more about how to be a better person, basically online. Yeah. So I do not begrudge you that part of your history in the slightest. Christy in the chat points out something that I can't believe I forgot about, but obviously Miranda Sings is very much a character, and that's still happening. Why didn't I think of that? Of course, Miranda Sings is like Fred. That's true. That's very, very true.
Huh.
I guess Miranda Sings is such an institution of YouTube now.
Yes.
Such like an established personality. I kind of forget that's an extreme caricature. I mean, obviously it is. You don't have to watch it for a couple seconds before you realize this is an extreme caricature, but I forgot.
Yeah. I think back in the day, I remember either it was a recommended video or something like that. But like I remember seeing Miranda Sings, I remember thinking, wow, like I think it's so great that this person is so confident in who they are. And then I realized, oh, it's a character. Great. Wow, that was very well acted.
Yes. Yes. Darna, you had mentioned something. Oh yeah, okay. So you have definitely recognized that there are problematic things that you've done on YouTube. I think that you probably also are aware that there are problematic things that other people do on YouTube. But your channel, Stewdippin, is at this point branded as being about like nerdy stuff and comedy stuff. Do you ever feel like there's things that you kind of want to talk about online, but you don't have a place for it?
Man, you ask really great questions. Yeah.
These are the questions I'm thinking of. These are the things I want to know about you, man.
Yeah, well, sometimes there are. Like anytime there is something that has to do with race, particularly like the Black Lives Matter movement or anything that has to do with um, those kind of social issues, I typically take to Tumblr or Twitter typically, because when it comes to how I feel about it, I'm so bad at articulating my feelings in a way that is both well informed and um, not 100% defensive, especially when I get those kinds of feelings. Like recently, there was a trend on Twitter called "Boycott Star Wars Episode 7"
Oh yeah,
because people were saying, "Well, it's anti-white and there's a black lead, so that's bad." And I engaged in a conversation. I first off made a video, and I basically said, "Listen, guys, here's the thing. This, like, having a black lead is not anti-white, and having multiple races and backgrounds being represented is not a bad thing, because for years representation has looked like this." And I pulled up like my Justice League bag that just has a series of 5 white superheroes and like 1 black guy. I'm just like, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this. Like there's nothing wrong with the idea of having a black lead. Like there's no agenda behind it. It's like, oh well, there's has to be some kind of agenda because they have a black guy and a woman and this evil guy who's probably white. I'm just like, guys, listen, there's nothing wrong here. These are not the problems that you're looking for. Like this, there's nothing wrong with
these are not the problems you're looking for.
Right? And so anyway, so that happened, and I engaged with someone, like trying to have a conversation with someone about it, because I hit these issues online where I like to give people the benefit of the doubt when it comes to social issues. And sometimes I want to reach out to them and give them an opportunity to learn something. And I engaged with this guy online, and it turns out he's just racist, like in the worst ways. I don't know. Like his first response involved a racial slur that was so old that I had to Google it. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is racist. I'm going to look it up. It sounds racist. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, that was birthed in racism. And for those kinds of things, like there are certain things I want to say about it, but I either just share other people who talk very openly about it, or if I do have something to say about it, I always have to like just check where I am. I'm like, am I able to have a kind of conversation with someone else? And I have to know that I'm going into the conversation trying to educate them and not attack.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of both. Like I feel like with YouTube, I'm essentially working on creating entertainment and sharing things that have to do with me and my experience. Like I'm working on a video that's been in the works for a while, but I'm finally getting around to it, especially with the whole boycott Star Wars things, which talks about the subject of the importance of representation.
Awesome.
Because it's something that has been actively a part of my life, and especially as part of my life of being a black nerd. Like I was saying, when I saw Andre online, I'm like, wow, like that's so great that there are more people like me and more people like me that are like as nerdy as me. Like it's just like, wow, like this is super, super cool, because I've always just been like, anyway, I'm getting into my own head, but like I've typically been like the only black guy with a lot of groups of my friends, and seeing this other guy who just says, yep, I'm black, and that not be like his role in like what he creates content as, I'm just like, that's awesome. Like you see other options available for you. So like with Star Wars, like this is the 3rd prominent character in Star Wars who is black. You have Lando Calrissian, you have Mace Windu, and you have Finn. Like, I don't see why people are upset about that.
Yeah, if that is the ratio of black characters to not black characters, I think that it's not the white people who've been killed off. I think that maybe something else has been having some representation problems. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I don't know if you I don't know if you're familiar with It's Radish Time, Taylor Peters. She recently just put up a vlog about being the only black person in a room. And you know, it's not you. It's not just you. A lot of people experience that same phenomenon, and all of a sudden you are lacking representation, and you yourself as an audience member of whatever media, you have to somehow represent everybody else who's like you when you're talking about these things. And I mean, I experienced it to a lesser degree. Like, I'm not as marginalized, but as an Asian American, I'm often the only Asian American in the room. I'm the only person who can provide my viewpoint, and I don't see myself on screen or in media very much. Lately, like this past couple of TV seasons, I've started seeing myself a lot more, which is fantastic. I'm very excited about it. And like Big Hero 6 had a couple of Asian American characters, and it made the 13-year-old in me so happy to see somebody who looked like me on a screen from Disney for the first time ever, essentially. And so I mean, I get that a little bit. I get that a little bit as well. The absurd response of boycotting Star Wars 7 just because one character doesn't look the way that you want them to look. I mean, that is so much privilege. That, like, I'm slightly uncomfortable about one character's appearance, so I'm gonna just tell everybody to like not look at them. Yeah. Really?
Yeah. Well, and the thing, so I did a little bit of research, because this is what I do when I do approach social issues. Like, because I'm like, okay, I want to be able to hear people out, and I'm able to hear a lot of people out, just at least from where they're coming from. And J.J. Abrams did say, he's like, I went into the casting call, and it was the whitest thing I'd ever seen. Like, it was just the whitest room, like, ever. And so I thought to myself, we have an opportunity to do something different here. So why not choose a person of color? And that was like, that's the interview that people were freaking out about. And so there's like, well, it's anti-white. He did inspire the white people. I'm just like, no, guys, no, he didn't. He said, I have an opportunity to represent someone who's not typically represented as a lead role, not as a support role, but as a lead role and a pivotal character in this story. And that's great.
I'm delighted that is what J.J. Abrams says was his approach to casting. Finn, that's fantastic. It is a shame that like a little while, like after that hashtag started with the boycott, I think he did like an all lives matter type post on Twitter. You know, one of those typical things where you like start rattling off lots of colors that don't exist. You know, oh, it doesn't matter if you're white or green or purple or yellow. No. Wait, hold on a second. You had a good thing there. Stick with saying that black people's representation is a positive thing. It's okay, J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
Literally, you're not going to lose money from people who are upset about a black lead character in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Billions of people are going to watch this movie. It doesn't really matter what you do. Seriously. At least like own this positive thing that you did. But at least it is positive. You know, regardless of his note, at least it is positive casting and representation. I'm very happy about it. I'm also disappointed in people's inability to recognize that in all the crowd scenes in the Star Wars trailer, there's lots of white people. There's plenty of white people. They haven't gone anywhere. They're in all the crowds.
Well, one of my mini drafts, because that's the other thing. Like when I create video, I'm just like, oh, but what does this mean? Like, what message am I wanting to communicate? One of my drafts for the Twitter video I made was like, listen, if you think having a black lead character is going to stop there being predominantly white heroes, and then I pointed to like an Avengers poster, that's not gonna stop happening. Like, like, you have nothing to worry about. This isn't gonna be like a trend of like black people taking, like, listen, guys, like, you're getting upset about fiction because like in the Avengers, if I want to cosplay as someone, it has to be Nick Fury in order to get recognized, because
Falcon.
Oh yeah, well, Falcon. Oh man, I'm super excited. I'm excited for Infinity War and Civil War. Oh,
yes,
it's gonna be awesome.
It is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna point out in the chats, Francie says, "Vote Spider Francie for diversity."
Yes,
I would love to see Spider Francie. That would be fantastic.
You would be. Oh yes, you could be Silk or the new what is it? Not New 52, but like the all new Spider Woman. That would be awesome.
Yes, or I mean, and you know, again, we don't need to stick with whatever is visible in a comic book. Francie could be Spider-Man. Francie could be Spider-Gwen. There's no we don't have to stick to those things when we're translating it into live action.
Dude, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that so much.
And then Francie also says, when I saw the character Moana for the first time, I cried. The first Disney princess who looks like me.
That's the other thing. Dude, when it comes to like representation, like this is something I would mention in my video. Like my wife never connected the fact that she could be a Disney princess until Princess and the Frog came out.
Princess and the Frog.
Like she told me, she's like, yeah, I was just like, yeah, Disney princess, that's like a thing. But then she saw Tiana, she's like, wait a second. I'm a Disney princess. Like as a grown adult, she's like, oh, this is available for me. And that's when she was just like, oh yeah, I get why people are like Disney princesses, and I get it now. Because before she was like, oh yeah, princesses, it's like a thing. But like then she just became all into the fandom. But yes, yeah, I think it's super great for that when you're able to see yourself. Oh yeah, that's awesome.
I agree. I'm really looking forward to Moana. Also for Dwayne Johnson, like you know, the fact that they're actually casting Pacific Islanders to play the voices of Pacific Islanders is, it seems so obvious, yet nobody else does it. So thank you, Disney, for finally doing it.
Yes, thank you.
I'm very excited about that. I just realized that I actually haven't pointed out, not that people in my podcast will know this, but I'm wearing my shirt today. A combination Back to the Future and Doctor Who shirt.
Yes.
That was particularly appropriate for this week, considering it was just Back to the Future Day.
What a day.
It was such a... I rewatched the entire trilogy in one day.
Nice.
It holds up. It is good.
I rewatched the second Back to the Future 2, and I bought the 30-year anniversary. Nice. Oh, man. It is such a great movie and a great series of movies. Like I've seen the third one the least, so I think I need to rewatch that one soon. But like I loved everyone's reaction to it, because it's like I was talking to my buddy Grayson about this, but it's like seeing the sheer amount of people celebrating Star Wars Day, or not Star Wars Day, goodness, Back to the Future Day. It's like realizing that everyone else has a birthday on the same day as you. You're like, oh, I'm going to be celebrating this thing, of course. But what do you mean everyone else has this birthday too? That's awesome. Like, it was really cool.
Yeah, it was nice seeing like nerds and non-nerds alike coming together on Twitter, just flipping out over Back to the Future. And the fact that, you know, they I can't remember which company it was, but some company had Michael J. Fox and Christopher Scott reprising their roles for an advertisement. That was pretty cool. I like that as well. That was neat. Yeah. But yeah, so the shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say. That's fine. I'm gonna come over here to the comments and say that Michael says, of course there is plenty of white people. Look at all the white stormtroopers. Haha. Haha. Good joke. Good joke. Oh my goodness. Let's see. What have I not talked about yet? How are you feeling? Because this comes up a lot. How are you feeling about the current state of the YouTube community and your place in it?
Let me think.
I mean, that's a broad question. So, like, you know,
yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be like, there are problematic YouTubers. There are people who are fighting for positive things. Mm-hmm. There are people in the middle who never talk about it at all. Mm-hmm. And then there are places that we can all get together, like at VidCons and playlists and buffer festivals.
Yeah. I would say because I am, my YouTube experience started fairly early on. And the thing that I love the most about YouTube is connecting with people. I like it when YouTube is doing that really well. And when it becomes more, not necessarily more commercialized, because I want the platform to grow and for people to expand and reach more people. I'm not saying I'm against that. But when it becomes more commercialized is when I become like, I fall a little out of love with it, because like I remember YouTube being the place where I met one of my best friends, like C.S. Andreas, for example. Like he found me, he's like, dude, we're the same. Like I was watching this video and my friend was like, hey, are you watching yourself online? He's like, no, there's this guy named Ricky. We're like the thing. And it was like, and he wrote on my wall, and like now we talk to each other like every week. like I get excited. Like I think about YouTube as that place, a place where I'm able to meet some of like the best people who I've ever had the chance to meet in person and share ideas and create things with them. And those are the things that I love the most about YouTube. And when it gets into the more commercial aspect and like I guess more of the business side of it is when I just don't care for it as much, and I feel there's more distance between me and the community, because there are the people who are go to YouTube just so they can watch the Late Show clips, and there are people who just go to watch music videos, and that's fine. And I'm not saying that these are wrong people, but like they do make up a lot of the audience, and I feel like YouTube caters to them more than they cater to the community as far as like priority goes. And so that's, I guess, my initial thought about like the state of the YouTube community. I feel like we as community members are, I think because we make up fewer compared to like the big scheme of YouTube and like all the different users and all the people who use YouTube for that, I feel like we don't have as many opportunities to be heard, if that makes sense, just by the bigger idea of YouTube. But then the idea of talking like big YouTube versus little YouTube, to borrow phrasing from Ashley Mardell, I think that little YouTube, I think I've been falling more in love with little YouTube more and more lately, just because it's been less about the politics of getting more views and doing all of the challenge videos. I've been seeing fewer challenge videos, which has been nice for me. But like, when I say challenge videos, I mean like the kind of challenge videos like, hey, a trend is happening, let's trend it together. Let's do trends. And I get it, it's smart and it makes sense and it's a business, I get that. But like, I like when we are making content that is reaching people and connecting people and is entertaining or is sharing new ideas. Like I just made a video entirely about candy corn and why it's the worst, because because like I don't care for candy corn, but I had a lot of fun like actually researching and like figuring out different ways to like make this engaging and entertaining so I can share it with people, because it's like me sharing this piece of art that I like to share with other people and hearing people's responses and talking with people. That's what I love the most about being a part of like a little YouTube community, because we get to create and connect, and those are my faves. So that's that.
I mean, that is fantastic, and I totally agree with you. I'm going to point out in the chat that Christy Turlin has to go. Thanks for watching for so long, Christy. That's been great. And Asante chimed in with little YouTube for the win. Yes, little YouTube. Awesome. And then Mr. Crispin says, I want Finn and Poe to be gay in The Force Awakens just to rub the haters the wrong way a little bit more. That's true. I don't know if we've had anything canonically in the rainbow community in Star Wars. I don't think so. Well, maybe, but I'm not familiar with the expanded universe, so maybe there's something in there.
Yeah, but they recently... I think they just banned that canon. I think they said nothing in the expanded universe is canon.
Oh, well, never mind then. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they upset a lot of people.
I bet they did. But getting back to your comments about big YouTube and little YouTube and grooving into the little YouTube community, I mean, I totally agree. Like, I didn't even really realize that was a thing with which I wanted to associate until probably like the middle of last year, and then since then, a lot of places, not just online, have been highlighting the little YouTube community, which is great. Like some big YouTubers are asking, who do you like in the little YouTube community? Mm-hmm. Like Tessa Violet just asked, who do you like who has fewer than 200,000 subscribers? Now, admittedly, it's still pretty high. But at least she acknowledges that we exist.
Yeah.
That's nice. VidCon, has had, I think, for 3 or 4 years now, they've had their Less Than Famous panel, where I saw you as well. You asked the question there, I think, this year.
Yeah.
That was very cool. Playlist Live, Kaylee Kill, I think, is the person who's behind the Smaller Channels panel for Playlist Live, and they had one of those at DC this year, which was really cool. I think Sitsy, Summer in the City, also has a small YouTube or little YouTube panel, and I think Fran was on there as well this year. Paul Neefsey has hosted it previously. Like there's a lot of like big organizations, regardless of what they're actually doing for us. The big organizations are at least saying these people exist.
Yep.
And they deserve a platform to share their voice, which is fantastic. That's really great. And you know, in little YouTube, we aren't as constrained to do the things that the big channels have to do. Like the big channels, sometimes they're not allowed to talk about certain topics because they have contracts with things. They're not allowed to do certain things because of their restrictions and their brand agreements and whatnot. Not as much, apparently, I found out this year, not as much as we think, but still, you know, you have to be brand friendly if you want to stay big and stay successful. And you know, as a little YouTuber, I don't have to be brand friendly. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I definitely still feel like I'm a part of it, and I feel comfortable in the little YouTube community, part of this online platform. People in the chats are jealous of everybody at Buffer Festival. Yeah.
Is that happening right now?
This weekend, yeah. This is the weekend for Buffer Festival. It's a weird thing to see because apparently there's a red carpet at Buffer Festival. I've never been. There's a red carpet and people dress up like Hollywood stars and walk on the red carpet at the Buffer Festival. It's weird. But I would definitely like to be there and just check it out. So I am also quite envious of those visitors. Let's see here. Also in the chat, Mr. Crispin says, I met Ricky on here, must have been 5 years ago now. Talk to him practically every week. That's the YouTube I love. As soon as the person can't react to the fans, it loses everything for me. That's a good point. You get big when you've got not just 1,000 or a few thousand or tens of thousands, but you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers, and many of them are commenting. It is hard to respond to as many as we little YouTubers can.
Totally.
Proportionally.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that, because someone asked that when I was on the Less Than Famous panel, is like, I think it's still possible. It just has to shift. Like how you interact will shift, and just like into different controlled environments, or just like how you interact. Because I mean, you are one person. And Dunbar's number says that you can only have 150 interpersonal connections. Have you heard of that?
Nice nerdy reference there.
Yeah.
Number. Wow. I haven't thought about it in a long time. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I've said that myself on many videos, that there's literally a physical, logistical restriction as to how connected you can be to those big creators. Which is why, you know, if I tweet out something to like Jack Howard and he doesn't respond to me, I don't get upset about it. He's got thousands of people trying to reach him in some fashion. It's okay. If he does respond to me, that's kind of amazing. But if he doesn't, then I get it. I get it. Yeah. Mandy in the chat says, I found you, Paul, through Brian from Act Out Games. Act Out Games, Presley, like I think she's 8 or 9 years old, and she does daily vlogs every day. Amazing little YouTube channel. And it has led to my introduction to little YouTube. I'm really enjoying watching the smaller, less constrained creators. It's a different feel here. It's a different feel here for sure.
Yeah.
And then Francie, this is cool. Francie says, I was so happy when Ricky agreed to collab with me because I didn't really expect it.
Aw. Thanks, Francie. I mean, man, you did such a great job at collaborating. She reached out to me. She's like, hey, I have this idea for a video. I wrote it. I wrote the script. This is our Christmas collab last year. Like, I wrote the script. What do you think? I read it. I'm like, this is great. And you want me to play the doctor? Yes, I'm in. And so thank you, Francie. And you're just a great, you engage very well with people. Like you weren't a stranger when you reached out to me, basically. I was just like, oh yeah, Francie? Yeah, sure. Like it wasn't like well, let me double check. Let me make sure. And like, I didn't have like any kind of wall up or anything because you're so active and you're already so cool. And I already dug your video. So yeah, thanks.
That is true. That's all true of Francie. And I mean, I think from like the first video of hers that I saw, which is where she was talking about, oh shoot, I can't remember what it was. It was some sort of parody video that she sang a song.
Was it Oscar So Racist?
Yes, Oscar So Racist. That's what it was. Yes, that's what it was. So right from the onset, I was commenting with her and tweeting with her and talking about how I liked her videos. and we engaged back and forth, and I could tell that she was a cool person right from the onset.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are approaching 4 o'clock, so I'm going to be wrapping up soon.
Okay.
It's amazing how fast 2 hours just kind of fly by when we're doing this. I wanted to give a shout out to Magic Cat Jenny's YouTube series called YouTube Talk podcast. If you go to youtube.com/MagicCatJenny, they're going to have another live stream tomorrow, Sunday, at 4 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know who the guest is yet, but Magic Cat Jenny does something very similar to this, except a lot more research is put into it. A lot more preparation is put into it. She does things like shows little clips of YouTube videos from her guest, and they talk about other channels that you can check out. Mostly little YouTube, I believe.
Awesome.
That's really cool. So again, youtube.com/MagicCatJenny, Sunday at 4 p.m. It'll be like this, but I think it's only like half an hour long, and it's much more structured. She usually tackles a topic. Like she's had Echo Gillette on to talk about BAM, her series about little YouTubers. She's had What Alan Says on to talk about a topic. So check that out. That's also very good. I just wanted to give her a shout out, basically. Is there anybody that you, Ricky, would like to shout out in the show? We've already talked about a couple people. C.S. Andreas, Black Nerd Comedy.
Yeah. There's a new a guy who I've been becoming good friends with. I'm trying to see what to link him to. His name is Orem, or at least that's what he goes by, and he makes comic book videos, and he's just starting out. And I say just starting out. He's been doing it for I think this year and last year. But he's really good, and he talks about comic book things, and I wanted to give him a shout out because he's awesome. Also wanted to give Tara Jane from the awesome web series. I don't know if you've seen this yet. It's called Social Medium.
Oh, yes. Oh, actually, it's on my list of things to see. I haven't watched it yet.
It's super fun. So this is the first season, first official season. They did kind of like a pre-season couple of episodes that's available, and you can watch them. And those were what got me into it. And then they wanted to get funding to do like a full series, and it's awesome and really well done. And then last person would be Jim Lama, Gretchen. I wanted to give a shout out because I've been really bad at promoting a lot of the women on YouTube. On Mondays, I'm trying to do that more, and those two are people who I just love watching and hearing from. And Gretchen's one of my friends from the YouTube Creator Institute, so please check her out. She is just the coolest.
That is excellent. That is excellent. If you can send me links to their YouTube channels, I will put them in the description of this video.
Perfect.
Awesome. So thank you to all of the people who've been watching in the chats. Oh, we also got Cosmic Nerd Studios.
Yay! Welcome.
Nice. You missed a little bit. But that's okay because this video is going to be saved and available on my channel as soon as we wrap up here.
Awesome. Man, technology is great.
Isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me on here. I hope you had a fun time, Ricky.
I really did. Thank you for asking really awesome questions. And this is fun. I like talking back and forth. Again, these moments, it's what I live for when it comes to YouTube. I love it. So thank you. Thanks for having this.
It has been my pleasure. I've been wondering about your backstory, your superhero origin story for a while now. So I'm glad we got a chance to get a little bit of information into that.
Yeah.
So this has been fun. There's one thing that I meant to do and I forgot to prep for, which was to tell everybody what my next episode, my next live show is going to be. So I'm going to look that up very quickly here. Let's see here. Google Calendar.
I think you said, when was it? Let's see if I can find it before. Oh, no, you don't have it when it is. But you're shouting out who it was going to be with.
Yes. So, pardon me, I'm underprepared. Here's what I can do. I can tell you that last month, I did this thing on my channel where I called it a Let's Talk About You video. And I specifically made the vlog a space where people in the comments could introduce themselves and say hi to each other and talk to each other about who they are, like a little meet and greet in my comment section. And that went really, really well. So I'm going to do another one of those next weekend, Halloween weekend. There'll be a video on my channel where you can go into the comments and specifically just say hello to everybody and introduce yourself. I'm going to try to make that a monthly thing. So that's next weekend, Halloween weekend. And then here it is. On the 14th of November, I'll be having a live stream just like this with High-Waisted Pantaloons. That's their screen name channel. High-Waisted Pantaloons, a.k.a. Liz. So come back for that. It's going to be on November 14th at 3 p.m.
Yes.
I think that's everything. Ricky, do you have like a regular sign-off that you do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's thank you so much for watching. My name is Ricky. I'm making fun videos every week. And if you'll excuse me, I have to go do some nerdy reference. And that's what I do.
That's excellent. And that does sum up your channel quite nicely. It's a good outro line.
Thanks.
And as for me, I always say that at the end of my videos, this is where I say that tomorrow will be even better.
Nice.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you.
Bye.